Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. It's our Atlanta Falcons weekly report. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and today, joining me is some very talented gentlemen. One played in the National Football League for 11 years out of Colorado State University. Another gentleman played in Morrill High School and won a state championship. And another gentleman comes from the prestigious school down there in West Georgia, down in Carrollton, the talented Mr. Logan Landers. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards of Football. It's the Atlanta Falcons weekly report. So I'm going to start it off. Last week, the Atlanta Falcons lost to the LA Chargers. Now they're 6-6 on the year. That means that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on their rear ends. And my only question that I have to these talented gentlemen today is that, is the wheels are starting to come off? Should they make a change at the quarterback position? I know we love Kirk Cousins. He's been paid a lot of money, but we drafted Michael Penix number 8. And you know what? It's not getting any better with Kirk Cousins under the quarterback position. So if you like the video, please come in and share it. So I'm going to start it off with the gentleman who played with the Falcons. See, I like to go with people that's been there, done that, and did that. He played with the Falcons, so he shall know the organization a little bit better than we do. Started off, Mr. Harper LeBel. What has happened with the Atlanta Falcons?
Man, I'm reminded of that movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore and Whoopi Goldberg. And Whoopi was being told by Patrick Swayze, you got to give her the news, man. You got to tell her. He said, I can't tell her that. She's in trouble. Don't tell her. Say, Molly, you in danger, girl. That's the line from the movie. And the Atlanta Falcons have gone from a very comfortable lead to now a tie with the team that is playing hot, that has a lot of momentum coming from behind them and has been there before, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Things have got to change in Atlanta. You can't be accepting these 3 losses in a row. Should have beat the Saints. You got blown out by the Broncos, and now you lose again at home. There's no home field advantage for the Falcons right now. Unfortunately, winning in Mercedes-Benz has been few and far between.
Mr. Cornel Hardy. Longtime Falcons fan, love the team, know the team from the history. The Atlanta Falcons right now, where do they go?
Well, they gotta go another direction, man. I'm telling you, man, that game was just so disappointing, man. You know, just coming out of church on Sunday, man, listening to this great song by Donnie McClurkin said that he says in the line, after you've done all you can, you just stand. And that's what Kirk Cousins was doing. He was just standing. No mobility, none whatsoever. And I tell you what, man, what we got to do, man, we got to put some kind of package in for Michael Penix, man, because certain packages that we can have with Michael Penix will help us out in the game. But the thing is that it's time to make a move. But what's disappointing to me, I'm sorry for clapping my hands, was in the conference that Raheem Morris said, and we was talking about the tight end, Pitts. He said he won the battle in route running. What are you talking about? Route running? Come on now. Out of everything that we can talk about right now, he's talking about that Pitts did great in route running. Come on, man. We don't have time for this, man. I mean, we got another person we need to talk to. I'm frustrated, man. Let it ride. Let's go, man.
Mr. Logan Landers.
Hey, Cornel, if he won those routes, yeah, I don't know who he won them against, but he won them all right. He got 2 targets the whole game. If you look at the stat sheet, there ain't nothing there. No catches, no yards, no. I mean, so he might have run some great routes on the sideline, but, man, look, it's just disappointing, all in all. I mean, 3 straight losses for this team, struggle to put up points once again. And what's irritating to me is Cornel and Harper, we've said on here for weeks on end saying if the Falcons can get a pass rush, they can get it going. Well, last week they had a pass rush. They had 5 sacks, but the offense and Kirk Cousins failed to deliver. And that's why we're at 6-6, tied for first place now. Vincent, back to you.
I think when we're looking at this Falcons team, back a couple of weeks ago, they were 6-3, and even myself, I said, man, this is a team that might have an outside chance of being a Super Bowl team. I thought they was going to run away with the division, but they had that horrible loss to the New Orleans Saints. And then I said, okay, maybe that was just a game during the season. You have one bad game. But then you go back and how they lost to Denver 38-6. And make a long story short, they was not competitive in that football game. And myself personally started questioning the coaching staff. Raheem Morris. I started saying, come on now. You got a 2-game lead. You're going into Denver and you get beat 38-6 by a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. And then last week, now granted, Kirk Cousins hasn't played well over the last 3 weeks, but the way you lost that football game, the Chargers did not score offensive touchdown. Your defense finally played at another level, as Logan said, with the 5 sacks. But what really was alarming to me was the quarterback play. It was that Kirk Cousins threw 4 picks, and he threw 1 pick that went for a pick 6. So now, where do the Falcons go? You 6-6, and obviously the rails are coming off. Man, you going to Minnesota, a team that's 10-2, and you end up losing up there. You 6-7, and that's a good chance that Tampa's going to beat the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday, and now you 1 game behind in the division. So what is happening right now at the Fiery Branch? How's Arthur Blank going to feel? Because it had so much promise in the early of the season at 6-3, and I'm trying to figure out, you got talent. You went out and you got Jesse Bates. You went out and got Justin Simmons. You went out and got Matthew Jordan. You went out, you got B. John Robinson. You got Tyler Gill, 2 of the best running backs in the game. But it's the quarterback position. And I'm not saying bench Kirk Cousins, but I'm saying you got to get to some point, because if you keep losing football games and the rails come off, what you going to do in the offseason? To you, Hop?
Well, nobody's lying. It's been frustrating to watch. And for obvious reasons, when you lose, even if it's a close game, the Denver game was a blowout. I ended up leaving early in the third quarter. I go, tell me if it changes, because I've seen all I can see. If that changes, then I'm interested again. But just frustrating when you don't get the first down, you get yourself a penalty, you're outside the sticks. The little things that we've seen for years, our inability to get a first down on 3rd and 2. You can't run up the middle. So some problems that have just echoed over and over and over. But now the frustrating part, can Kurt play better? Of course. He's been in the league for a long time. He'll make the changes. I get it. But do we get different results? That's basically all we're all asking for. What are the results that we're going to get? We want, which is a win, and how are we going to get that turned around so that the path to get there changes to the point where everyone believes in it again? When we're watching stuff and trying to throw something soft at our big screen TV so we don't break it, but we still want to. We're so angry because we see the potential too, guys, and I think that's the big thing is we see that this team has talent here. This guy is a high-rated player. This guy could be a Pro Bowler. But when you lose, it evaporates all of those good feelings.
Mr. Hardy.
Same thing that Mr. LeBel was talking about. The main thing that I see is basically just execution on all aspects of the ball and offense, protection of the quarterback. However, at the same time too, you got to look at who is the threat on the offense. The threat that we have right now, we can talk about right now is B. John Robinson. But yet at the same time, we have Drake London, we have Kyle Pitts, and we have Mooney or whatsoever, but we never see that any defense is trying to double up or trying to feel that those guys are a threat, because the thing is that the ball is not getting to them. So basically, they're putting exotic blitzes, they're pressing their quarterback. And one thing that we talked about, me and Mr. LeBel talked about last week was, that the Chargers had a game on that particular day, and then also too they flying over to play against us. And one thing that I did talk about is coaching up, because we talked about the people that the Chargers organization had over 36 years of experience, like Mark Tresman, like Jesse Menterfather, Rick Mentor, that has the experience to be able to talk to these players and coach these players up. And at the same time, yet they did not score either, but at the same time, they got coached up to win the game. And the situation that I look at right now is looking at the staff and looking at all the coaches, man. We got to coach up these players. This is what most people talk about, the millennial athlete, where you have to coach these players up to be able to produce, be able to perform. So I'm thinking you got to go to coaching, man. Trust and verify at all times.
Mr. Landers.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the coaching staff look, it's a rough stretch right now. It feels like an eternity ago when Kirk Cousins was doing the swag surf at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You know, the vibes were looking great. The fans were into it. Everyone was happy to be there. And now it's taken just a bad turn for this team and the Falcons. And as we said, we knew whenever the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins, said, boy, that's a lot of money for a guy coming off a major injury to that Achilles. And we've seen some good moments. Like we saw last week, we've seen some bad moments. You just hope that as a Falcons fan that this isn't a very pricey mistake. See Daniel Jones for the New York Giants and see what happened with that. I'm just saying these Falcons, look, we've said the word for this team for years has been what, guys? Potential. It's potential with Kyle Pitts. It's potential with Bijan Robinson. It's potential with Drake London. I think Drake's done great this year. Bijan's had some good games. But Kyle Pitts, we're still waiting, I think. I don't know what it is, but we're still waiting for some of these guys to break out and just be really just more so consistent. The pass rush, as we said, for years, I mean, it feels like it hasn't been there. We saw it last week, but it was a little bit too late. And it's really, I think they just need to go and figure out some different schemes, look around, maybe try some different plays and maybe not be as predictable perhaps. But, I mean, I'm stuck just kind of scratching my head because this is a team that when they look good, they look really good. But when they look bad, you just walk away from the game if you're throwing Cheetos at the screen or if you leave the stadium saying, man, what the heck went wrong this week? So I think if you're a coaching staff, you got to look in the mirror and say, what can I do better to help out this pretty much relatively young core that we have here?
One big point I want to bring up. I remember Mr. Harper LeBel told me when the Falcons lost their game last year in the Dome and Desmond Ritter was the quarterback, Mr. LeBel expressed to me that Mr. Blank was going to make a point that they was going to have good quarterback play no matter what. We've signed Kirk Cousins, then we drafted Penix. Okay. But I go back to last year and a gentleman that I love a lot and liked him as a head coach, Arthur Smith. Well, the reason I love Arthur Smith, he's from the 901 father, Fred Smith of FedEx. I know people don't want to hear that, but I'm just going to tell it like it is. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he came under so much criticism of how the offense was, his play calling, him sticking with Desmond Ritter. I understand that. You don't win games. He mortgaged his job on Desmond Ritter, and Desmond Ritter, in my opinion, got him fired. But how ironic right now, he's the offensive coordinator at Pittsburgh, and he's 9-3. And Russell Wilson is throwing dimes. And it look like they might be talking Super Bowl. Well, you're looking at the Falcons right now, 6-3 a couple of weeks ago. Now they're 6-6, and they having the same offensive problems. We still talking about the same things that we was talking about with Kyle Pitts last year under Arthur Smith. And Arthur Smith took all the blame because I listened. Now I don't hear nobody putting that on Zach Robinson, who's supposed to be this genius OC coming over from the Rams under Sean McKay. I don't see nobody putting it on Rasheem Morris. So I'm saying to myself, okay, y'all didn't want Arthur Smith. Y'all fired him. You get out to a 6-3 record. But let's be real here. Over the last 3 weeks, the Falcons have not been good offensively. And they just recently had a good defensive game last week. So I never played at a high level, never put on a professional uniform, but I think common sense tells me I have a lot to do with the coaching. It has a lot to do with scheming. Now, I'm just saying, we was killing Arthur Smith last year for the same thing, for the same problems. And he goes over as an OC with Pittsburgh. And they're doing wonders with the young man out of North Carolina State by way of Seattle that's got a ring. I'm just saying, to you, Mr. LeBel, that's my final thoughts on the Falcons Weekly Report this week.
Well, you hit a lot of interesting, and everyone has hit an interesting. There's a frustration that you have. There's a problem that needs to be addressed. But wait a second, it's the same problem we had last year, and we fired everybody or brought new people in to try to fix that problem. And guess what? We still have it. That's the frustrating part, is that the insanity definition of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, or doing something different and expecting the same result. It's still insanity. And I don't think we're insane. I mean, we could be fans of Las Vegas right now, or how about New England? You want to be in Cleveland? What do you think the conversation's like there? Or maybe even in Chicago. That's another spot. For the past few years, you want to be in Carolina? Is that really where you want to be? So we're closer than we need, than they are to where we need to be and where we're wanting to go. But we're going against a team. Let's not look in the rearview mirror anymore. We're going against a team that is very, very good, especially defensively. They've got 39 sacks. That's the Minnesota Vikings. They're top 5 in the league right now. They only give up 18 points a game. The team we had just played with the Chargers, they're number 1 in defense. So you're going to see some frustration this week as well, I believe, because you're going against a defense that's absolutely fantastic. And the last week you did the same thing. So I'm not expecting better results in terms of, we're going to score 45 and blow this team out. But hopefully we'll find ways to adjust and do something a little bit better so we get the first down, so we get the ball in the red zone, and we don't give it up anymore. That's the biggest thing. The turnovers really unbelievable how many we had last week. And you mentioned Vincent earlier. I'm sorry, I'm being long-winded, but there's a lot to say, isn't there? We didn't give up a touchdown and we end up losing. How does that happen in an NFL game? But it did, and it has before. So correcting some mistakes, going against a very good offense. They're 10th in the league in passing. They're 17th rushing. They score 24 points a game. They're 9th in the league in scoring, and they're 5th in the league. That's why they're 10-2. How do we beat them? We got to score more and give up less.
Mr. Cornel Hardy.
Same thing that Mr. LeBel said, score more. The main thing also, too, is understand this. The defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings is Brian Flores. We know where he came from. And we know he's a defensive-minded coach. However, their passes allowed is 243 yards on average per game, which is ranked number 28th in the league. But rushes allowed is 81 yards per game, which is number 1 in the league. So what that tells you right now, they're gonna stop. They're gonna stop that run, but they may have some issues with the passing game if we are executing and we are performing that we as on a high level. But this is my prediction right now. Is when I look at the red zone scoring. Red zone is when you get back from the 20-yard line to the goal line, your efficiency to score. So the Atlanta Falcons are number 25th in the league at 50%. The Vikings are at number 19 at 53% as far as red zone scoring. So basically, we got to turn it up when we get to that red zone to capitalize and win the game, capitalize and get touchdowns during the game. However, like we talked one time before, was the third down efficiency, third down average and efficiency right there. The Minnesota Vikings are 38.7. We are 39.64, which, it's 39%. So basically, we got to execute on third downs, and if we get towards the red zone, we got to score. It's simple. It is simple as that. And then like we talked about before, we talked about coaching. So let me go down a list as far as who we got. I'm just a couple of names.
Okay.
We got Ike Hilliard. Well, you know who Ike Hilliard came from, University of Florida. He is our receiver coach. We got a guy named Kevin Kroger that was a tight end. That was a tight end coach for the Los Angeles Chargers a couple of years ago. Who is our tight end coach? We got we know Zach, our offensive coordinator, but we got T.J. Yates as an assistant and a quarterback coach. Guess who the Vikings have as far as their wide receiver coach? Keenan McCardell. We know what Keenan McCardell. And as well as that, they got Josh McCown as a quarterback coach. But let's not forget the head coach. The head coach came from the Los Angeles Rams organization. And he's the only coach out of 11 coaches that has won 3 games with 3 different quarterbacks last year when Kirk Cousins got hurt. Remember Joshua Dobbs when Joshua Dobbs came down here, and what did he do to us? Simple as that. We just got to execute and handle our business.
Mr. Landers.
Kirk Cousins, you're going back home to Minnesota where you spent many seasons. You know the field, going to have a lot of fans in the stadium, going to have some cheers, but also going to have some boos. Let's not get that twisted. You haven't thrown a touchdown, guys. And Kirk Cousins has thrown a touchdown in 3 games. That feels just odd to say. So got to have better production. Starts with their main guy. He's the one we signed to that big money contract and say, hey, take these keys to this nice car and drive us into the playoffs. And right now we've kind of swerved a little bit and we're taking a little bit of a detour. But we're hoping to get back on track. Like you said, guys, Cornel and Harper. Minnesota is a tough team this year. There's a team who for many weeks was undefeated. Let's not forget that also. And I mean, if you would have told me before the start of the season that Sam Darnold could arguably be playing better football than Kirk Cousins, I would have said, one, you're crazy because Sam Darnold came into this year as a backup before the injury to J.J. McCarthy. So it's going to be a tough task if you're Atlanta going against Minnesota, a team who is fighting to be in playoff contention and maybe make some noise. As you said, a solid defense. Offensively is Sam Darnold and company. They're going to do some good work. But Atlanta's got to get back on track this week because, like you said, if they lose this game, that they fall below 500. And also Tampa Bay, they're playing Las Vegas. They're the heavy favorites in that game. And that first place that you had for many, many weeks, you'll become second place and on the outside looking in of the NFC and trying to get into the playoffs. So it's going to be a tough matchup. Let's see what the Falcons can do this week.
Our final words today here on the Atlanta Falcons Weekly Report. We're going to start with the NFL great, 11 years in the league. Mr. Harper LeBel, your final thoughts.
Tough division in the NFC North. And everybody, with the exception of Chicago, is right there. You got 11 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins. So the motivation to win for the Vikings is high. If they get their 11th win and somehow Detroit loses against Green Bay, they've got a chance to be tied up at the top of the division. And if they lose and Green Bay wins, that means that they're really tied for second and possibly could be third with the tiebreaker. So they have plenty of motivation to want to play. We should have the very same. Go on the road. You haven't been able to win at home. Do something different. Go see a movie together or do something to the point where you get away from football for a few hours, but then come back to it and find yourself a way to win on the road.
Mr. Cornel Hardy, your final thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons Weekly Report this week.
I can tell you just like this. Anybody that has played any kind of football, professional football, that left a team and went to another team, you automatically know there are people that don't like you on the other team. There are people that want to take your head off. Kirk Cousins, this is your opportunity right now. You're going back to Minnesota to handle your business and win the game for the Atlanta Falcons. Because the thing is that I'm pretty sure you're poster board material right now up there in Minnesota right now. But the simple fact is, for the Atlanta Falcons organization, this is what I have to say to you and give you a simple analogy. Right now, y'all in a situation right now, it's just like this. It's just like you got a girlfriend, you love her to death, you move into an apartment, you sign your name on a lease. But guess what? It's things not working out. So guess what? You're trying to break up, but guess what? Your name is still on the lease. So guess what? Your name is still on the lease for Kirk Cousins. Your name is still on the lease for Kyle Pitts. You might as well make the best of it right now and then wait till the lease is over with and go ahead and cut somebody loose. Simple as that. I'm done.
Mr. Logan Landers.
We've all been saying Kirk Cousins. It's been a rough spot here the last couple of weeks. If you were to turn your own personal challenges you've had on the field, if you were to get that flipped, get this team back on track, and show Minnesota what they're missing, this is the game to do so. There's 180+ million reasons why the Falcons signed this guy to help them out, and I believe in him. Right? I believe in like you guys said, go get away from football for a little bit. Don't think about it 24/7. Get your mind off something, and that can help you on Sunday. That can help you, don't beat yourself up over everything. Just relax for a little bit, enjoy a little bit of peace and quiet as much as you can, and then handle your business on Sunday. This is a good football team. They've got good talent, and, if I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm saying, look, I know what I can do. I know the numbers I've done in my career. I know how good I am. Let's show these people that I'm not, that I was overrated for getting signed that much money. If I'm Kyle Pitts, if I'm Kyle Pitts, I'm coming to this game upset. And I mean motivated upset because, guys, I've been seeing people have been labeling him as a bust. So if I'm Kyle Pitts, that's motivating me. If I'm Raheem Morris, that tells me, look, I'm going to see if I can get you some targets. I'm going to try and give Bijan some good rushes. I'm going to get this team on track, this defense. We're going to keep it rolling from last week, and we are going to get back on track against these Minnesota Vikings. This is a crucial game for the Falcons this season. They got to look impressive, and I think they'll get the dub. Let's see what they can do.
My final words today here on the Atlanta Falcons Weekly Report. The Atlanta Falcons, this is a huge football game. Might be the most important game of the season. You're on a 3-game losing streak. You're going to Minnesota. It's got some tremendous offensive talent. Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones. So when I look at it, it's time for the coaching staff. It's time to fix the problems. I'm going to say this about Kirk Cousins. You got paid a lot of money, Kirk. You've been a veteran in this game for a long time. Some people say that you will get it turned around. And I'm going to still stay loyal to my man who I think is a super talent in Kyle Pitts. See, I can't let y'all rail on Kyle Pitts today simply because he has not been really focused on the offense. Even with my homeboy Arthur Smith really didn't want him because Kyle Pitts is not a block-end tight end. Then with this new regime, Zach Robinson, who comes over with all this offensive knowledge playing in the Rams system, can't figure them out. Final words about the Falcons. Find a way on Sunday. And as far as Kyle Pitts, I'm not going to put him as an epic bust, not yet, because as you know, if you know the Atlanta Falcons, it's been players that's left here. There was one out of Southern Mississippi by the name of Brett Favre, killed, that they say was an epic bust. And what did he do? He went somewhere else with the Green Bay Packers, ended up having a Hall of Famer career, and won a Super Bowl. If you like the video today, please come in and share it here on 100 Yards of Football. I've been your host, Vincent Turner. Join me as a very talented former NFL star, played 11 years in the league, Mr. Harper LeBel by way of Colorado State. The very talented Cornel Hardy, won a state championship at Moore High School here in the Metro Atlanta area. And the very talented, we call him Babyface, the good-looking Mr. Logan Landers from West Georgia. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football. Thank you.